Hi, I'm Thomas Bowles, Prince William County Agricultural Extension Agent. Welcome to our video.
Good morning, everyone. It's 11 o'clock. We're going to get started here. Welcome to the Audubon at Home presentation. Today, our speaker is Christina Hastings, who is a member of staff and an Audubon ambassador, as well as a master gardener. Christina, whenever you're ready, go ahead and take it away.
Okay, great. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about our Audubon at Home program and the importance of it for our wildlife. So what is the Audubon at Home program and why do we participate in it? Well, it's a free program offered to property owners so that they can become better stewards of nature in your own outdoor space. Urbanization and use of pesticides, lush green lawns have contributed to the decline in our ecosystem and healthy habitats for wildlife. So being part of this program, citizens can participate in conserving and restoring habitat and biodiversity to the landscape, which has proven to be more resistant to pests, diseases, and extreme weather conditions. And the Audubon at Home program follows the principles of the National Audubon Society's bird-friendly communities in that we're providing important habitat for native birds, which will in turn offer us a richer and more beautiful and healthful place to live. So the Audubon at Home program, as I said, creates a healthy habitat for native plants and animals in your own yard. We can certify your property as a wildlife sanctuary, but all the conservation begins with you. So the use of some of our guiding principles are the use of native plants, the removal of invasive and exotic plants, reducing pesticides and fertilizers to protect and conserve water, and then create a beautiful space for wildlife, preserving public and private lands, and also we follow the steps to a healthy yard pledge. So what is the Healthy Yard Pledge? Well, as I said in the steps for the pledge, it reduces pesticides and fertilizer use. We conserve water and protect the water quality, removing invasive non-native plants and planting native species to our area. So also reducing lawn coverage. I know a lot of people don't like to hear that because a lot of people like their lush green lawns. I personally have removed about a third of my front lawn and converted it to a native bed using native shrubs and flowers to help attract the wildlife. And this supports birds and other wildlife in our area. Another thing is, if you have cats, we strongly encourage you to keep your cats indoors. And that is not only safer for your cat, it is safer for the birds and small animals. Cats are born hunters, so it's only natural for them to go after the birds and other small animals in your yard. The other last part of the pledge is guarding against human-made hazards. This is window collisions, leaving your porch lights on at night, and using the poison pest baits. So to avoid window collisions, you can, try placing something on the outside of the window, which is best. Some suggestions include maybe putting tape strips on your window or adding a decal. You can even use the tempera paint to create a design on your window. You can close your drapes and blinds whenever possible. This helps because the birds see their reflection in your glass, so this will help prevent that. And if you have outdoor lights, we suggest using, instead of leaving your porch light on all night long where, all the moths and insects will gather around the light, we suggest using motion lights. And as far as the poison pest bait, if you have mice and you use the poison pest bait around your property, in your shed or a garage, and the mice eat that bait when they're out in the field or running around, and a hawk, other bird of prey, or something else should eat that mouse, they could likely die from the poison bait as well. So we want to try to avoid using the poison bait traps. So we can help create a green corridor with native wildlife, and the Audubon at Home program has certified over 750 properties in Northern Virginia, and which is over almost 8,000 acres. And by creating we are creating this green corridor one property at a time, both on public and private lands. And there are many parks, and there's even a couple schools that are certified. So the criteria for a sanctuary certification is that you attract 10 of the sanctuary species from our list. There are over 42 species over 42 species identified by Audubon Society of Northern Virginia, and I'll show you some of those shortly. Provide native plants, which will support all of our native species, and remove your invasive plants. We wouldn't say you need 100% native plants, although we would like that. But we know there are plants like myself. I have several popular plants like Asiatic lilies. I love them, and I love the fragrance they have. So I have some of those planted, and I have some other non-natives, but most of the ones I have are not invasive. So I talked a little bit about our sanctuary species. So these are some of the species groups. We have amphibians, reptiles, small mammals, and birds, a lot of different birds. One question we often get asked when we visit a site for a certification is, everyone will say, oh, I have lots of cardinals. Unfortunately, even though cardinals are the Virginia state bird, they are not part of our species group. So here are some pictures of some of our species. We have butterflies and insects. You'll recognize the monarch butterfly and the swallowtail species, of course. There are dragon and damselfly species, moths. The other picture is a lady beetle species, and we have lots of native bee species. And we have several frog and toad species, as well as salamanders, reptiles, and small mammals. So here are some of the birds from the sanctuary. This is by no means all of them, but it is a sample of some of the birds that we have as sanctuary species. You'll notice the Baltimore oriole, of course, our eastern bluebird. There are at least 3 types of woodpeckers that I know of in my yard. We also have some chickadees, hummingbirds. So how can you participate? Well, there are 3 ways you can participate. You can contact Leslie Paulson, who's a Prince William County coordinator for the Master Gardener or for the Audubon Ambassador program here. You can go to the Audubon website and look up Wildlife Sanctuary Program, or you can send an email to the Master Gardener at pwcgov.org and tell them that you're interested in having your yard certified. We will send you a fillable application, and then we will schedule a site visit. And what does a site visit consist of? Well, once we receive your application and it's reviewed, an Audubon ambassador will contact you to schedule a visit. We do have COVID-19 protocols in place, so we will ask you to sign a waiver, which is on the Audubon website and we can send you. Audubon ambassadors will come to your location, will assess your landscape, will look at, based on what you put on your application as far as native species, the sanctuary species, we'll look at food and water sources, and we'll make recommendations, if there are any to make, about what you can do to get your property certified. Most cases that I have been to, it's mostly native plants. People need native plants. There's been just a handful of places that maybe two, I think, since I've been doing this, that I have not had to make a recommendation for to plant more native species. After we're done, we'll do a complete site report. We'll send a copy to Leslie, our coordinator, as well as to you, with the recommendations if there are any. And then if all the requirements are met, you will receive a letter that will certify your yard as a wildlife sanctuary. You will also, in the letter, it will also give you instructions on ordering the sign, this is the lovely sign that you can put in your yard to tell your neighbors that you are a wildlife sanctuary property. And then if there are some recommendations, there could be a follow-up visit that is required. And then where to buy native plants. So I added a couple slides here and be happy to send those out on where you can buy native plants if you're interested. Of course, Plant Nova Native's website is always a good resource for you. The Master Gardeners of Prince William are having a plant sale starting the 27th of this month. You will need to sign up for a time slot. And then there are also on the Plant Nova Natives is the entire list of local plant sales for different Master Gardener organizations as well as some other organizations. And then here are a few places that you can, that are local nurseries that you can get native plants from. Most of them require that you do an online order, and then we'll make arrangements to pick up. So that was the very brief Audubon at Home, and I am open for questions.
While you're thinking about whether you have a question, another thing I'll tell you, there are a lot of Zoom classes out there from various groups which sort of partner well with this program. Blue Prism has some. I know Lou Skinter is putting on a series of 10. There's only one left, but you can still sign up for them. And Audubon, if you sign up for the Audubon newsletter, you will find out about a lot of different ones as well.
And of course, we have our Wednesday series of classes, which are all posted on YouTube. That was very quick. I'm sorry. Is there any questions at all that we can answer?
Grant has one. Okay, he says he's going to contact us. That's nice. I'm trying to think of. The other thing I'd suggest to you all, if you haven't already, I suggest that you read if either Nature's Best Hope or Doug Tallamy's first book, which is Bringing Nature Home. He now has a third one out that is called The Nature of Oaks. And a lot of times when you hear about wildlife habitats, every once in a while you'll hear somebody mention biomass. And I know I actually asked our county arborist about how I determine what biomass there is. And she says it's not simple. But truly, if you have a white oak in your yard, you've almost met the requirements of what they would like you to have in your yard for biomass. So if you have a big enough yard, remember that native trees are something that are important to the wildlife, and having trees that are different heights in your yard, because many of the birds like different heights to build their nest, anywhere from the ground nesting birds to even a shrub or a short tree. And then there's the middle level. And then there is also, of course, the tall trees like the oaks. Let's see, what did this let?
There's a question.
Yes, the cardinal, that, you know, some of the ambassadors from other counties, we've argued this, and they're thinking about changing the list of species again. And if they're going to, and they're considering putting all the mimics on, so I'm talking about mockingbirds and blue jays, to name a couple of them. And I think if they could do that one, they might as well add our state bird in as well.
There's the
Robin, someone wants to put the webinar
okay,
link for, if you could do that.
or the
But
YouTube webinar.
yeah,
Okay, and then there was a question from Maggie there too for you.
Maggie, let me go back up. I must not have. Oops, shoot, it just went away. Oh. No. Maggie, oh, yes, we do. In fact, if you go on Plant Nova Natives, they have a list of like the 5 top plants for a sunny location and the top 5 plants for part shade area. And there's also, I think, one that is like, I can't remember the number of plants, but the top plants. I'll tell you, the biggest bang for your buck, 2 plants that come to mind right off the top of my head is anything in the Solidago family and also the Aster family. And remember too, in your yard, when Christina was talking about, you know, fertilizing and pesticides, another big thing is herbicides. If you see holes in your leaves of your bush or your perennial or even your trees, you want to jump up and down and go, yay, because it's telling you that you have food for baby birds. And we need caterpillars, even the caterpillars that you don't want, tent caterpillars and webworms. Those are food for our young baby birds. And 96% of baby birds need caterpillars to live. And to raise a clutch of chickadees, it's a ridiculous amount. I'm trying to remember. I want to say it's like 1,000 different caterpillars that they need to feed that clutch. And a lot of times they feed the babies till they leave the nest, but then they also feed them for the next couple of weeks as well. They're good parents and don't want their babies to starve. So let some of the little critters that you see in your yard live so that they can have food for the babies. I know we had chickadee nests last year, and I was so worried because I had a huge swath of land that was totally cleared for the new gas line, and so many trees and shrubs were cut down that I actually ordered mealyworms last year. They're not cheap, but it's something that other birds eat as well. But I basically did it because I wanted to make sure the chickadees got a good start. If they don't get a good start, they don't live to be adults that come back to your yard. So there's just a, yes.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
So there's a question is, why is the cardinal not on the list?
Oh, I was saying that I really have no idea. And I said something to the effect that many of the coordinators in Northern Virginia, we've asked that question over again, but they're considering, they're always considering adding more birds to the list. And I think just for the aspect of publicity, it would be a good one to have on there. And that, so maybe it can happen in the future. We'll see.
And then there's a question about what constitutes a water source.
Oh, yep. Bird baths are fine. The big thing with bird baths is, especially even in the winter, in the winter time, if you heat your bird bath, it's really a gift to all the birds that are out there, because most of the water we have, even here, we have times where all the water that's available is frozen. But you have to keep your bird baths clean. And in the summer, it means like going out and rinsing them every day, and at least once a week, maybe giving it a good scrub to get rid of all the funguses that are in there. And that brings to mind one other thing that they're really pushing right now. If you feed the birds, I mean, some people like to just feed in winter and some like to feed all year around. But Audubon is telling everyone now, you need to clean your bird feeders once a week, because it's killing a lot of the songbirds, especially those like in this, the finch family. They're very susceptible to the funguses that form there, and it can make them blind as well as kill them. And oh, shrubs. Someone said about you're thinking of shrubs. There's a lot of great shrubs, and there's just so many publications that are good resources. Maybe I'll see about sending, getting it to the help desk. I have a list of websites that are good for Audubon customers and clients who want a wildlife habitat, where it tells you like plant this, not that, for substitution and so forth. So I will, when we're done here, I will
If you
send
have
it.
that, Leslie, I can attach it to the
Okay.
email that goes out, and we
Then
can
I'll
send
send
it out to them.
Right. I'll send it to Christina. See,
And I'm working on getting the correct YouTube channel, because that link is broken. So
okay.
Oh.
That happens.
Oh. Hmm.
1 minute.
So I'm trying to, another way, I just had a client recently. I mean, she's got a yard that has a lot of trees and a lot of open fields near it. But the other thing that we do ask you to do, it's not demanded that you remove every invasive plant in your yard, or my yard wouldn't be certified either, because I have a lot of trees that should
That's
go.
what I
It's
said.
it's just that I have to take out a loan to take all these trees down. But the other thing is to get rid of the invasive plants in your yard, especially ones that have berries on them. I'm thinking of Eastern or Russian olive. What's that other one? Privet is bad. Multifloral rose is bad because it gets rose hips, and then the bird eat it and they plant it again.
What is the one? Oh, yeah, Nandina is.
Nandina. And Nandina, there is a chemical, I think it's cyanide, that's in the berries and can kill the birds. So people who, this client, she had one of those. And I said, if there's anything you're going to take out immediately, I said, please take this out. And she says, oh, but I like to bring it in. I said, well, then cut every berry off and bring in your house. I said, but don't leave them outside. It's not good for the birds.
I have one that I planted before I knew it was not good for there, but I do that. As soon as the berries show up, I cut them off.
Right. So there's a lot of, and of course there's things like our native honeysuckle is great. There is a native honeysuckle, in case you all didn't realize, and I fight the Japanese honeysuckle constantly, and it is a constant battle. As for getting rid of invasives in your yard, go to Blue Prism. That is one of their main goals, and they've only been a 501c3 for a year, and one of their main goals is helping to get rid of invasive species. And so they have all the different methods that you can use to try to do that.
English ivy.
Yes, because English ivy, if it's in your yard long enough, it has a berry. I don't think we all ever see it, because it's usually because it's way up a tree somewhere. It means if you can't get it all out of the tree, at least cut it and pull it from the trunk up as far as you can get it, so that it will start to die. because that's another, and that's something once you have in your yard, you got to keep your eye out because it comes back again and again.
See, I've been taking it out of my yard, but my neighbor has it in their yard and it's a rental property, so they don't do a whole lot. So I have to keep going along my fence and the trees and pulling it out.
Exactly.
So,
But
yep, it's not fun.
the other thing with this program, when working the help desk, I always tell people who say they want a master gardener to come out and visit their yard. And we only have 2 programs in which you can have that done. And that is if you want to have a soil test and someone to do the measurements in your yard, and they give you a folder full of all pertinent information. If you are into turf and you're an HOA or something and need it, it tells you how to have healthy turf in a safe manner. That is one way to get a master gardener to your house. And the other one is this program, because we do come out and visit. And if we try to answer all your questions, and if we can't, we usually try to find the place that you can get an answer to your questions. But overall, putting a wildlife habitat in your yard is good for the environment because we are protecting our native wildlife, and which will also, then we have our insects. You got to think of the food web. There's everybody eats something, and if you keep everything healthy, then all the insects that are the good insects will be happy because they'll have pollinators, plants around for them. And if you want to just get a quick bang for your buck, find an area in your yard that's maybe only, 4 by 5, 6 by 8. If you want to wait till fall, right now you can cover that in newspaper or cardboard and put some mulch on top of it and leave it till fall. And then you can pick maybe 3 different plants, perennials, or even a shrub in the middle of it that you want to put there, but all are native. And then next spring, you'll have a pollinator garden. So right there.
Is there a course for this similar to the Master Gardener course?
For ambassadors?
Yes.
Not really, because truly all in Northern Virginia, all Audubon ambassadors, for the most part, are either a master naturalist or a master gardener, which means they already have about 72 to 75 hours of training under their belt on how to do things correctly and answer questions. So you need that first. Audubon is talking about such a program, but in order to do it, they're going to have to set up training as well. I know that the other group that is not always one or the other is the Loudoun Wildlife Conservancy, which handles the bulk of Loudoun County's Audubon at home visits. But within their own organization, they give a lot of education as well. And that's another place to look for classes to take on helping wildlife and our native insects as well.
Any other questions today? I guess that's it.
Well, thank you all for coming. And next week we'll be doing hydroponics, how to get started in hydroponics. So that's to look forward to. Thank you, Christina, for presenting, and thank you, Leslie, for adding on. We'll see you next time.
Thank you, lady.
Have a good day.
Thank
Take
you,
care.
everyone.
Bye-bye.
If you're interested in lawn care, please contact our Best Lawns Coordinator, Natalie Walker, at nwalker@pwcgov.org. If you enjoyed this video, please let us know with your questions, comments, and suggestions for other classes and videos. We can be reached at mastergardener@pwcgov.org. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.